All right. Hello, Fortinos, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Ministry Revealed. It is March 1st, 2025, and the hope is still alive. I think that's going to be today's title. It won't be quite as long today, quite a bit shorter, I'm expecting, um, but the hope is still alive, brothers and sisters. Though the times we had been watching for appear to have passed, I you know where I stand. I'm going to remain diligent because I believe we have understood this is the 70th year, of which there is nothing foreseeable next year or the year after. We have gone through it and we've spoken about it numerous times, especially recently, being able to show that I don't understand how we can count to one more year and still be the 70th. So with that being said, we always know the Lord will continue to reveal, the Spirit will continue to guide us in everything that is Christ the Lord for those who are diligently seeking and searching Him, those who are watching and praying, loving and repentant, and that's what we're doing. And I came across something. Now, you're going to witness it with your own eyes. And this is why I'm titling this most likely, Hope is Alive, because we know what we've been looking for. We know why we're looking at it. We know what the connections are to it. And that it has to be as 70 years comes to an end. So this is what we're going to kind of build up and seek and push forward into here today, and kind of bring it all together to give us that strength, with not just oh, here's something else, but with a diligent look and a dig, and literally showing you what it looks like. You'll see what I mean when we get there. To prove, was this past month the month, or is it the month that is begun now? And you will understand why. Because you guys know I'm not just pushing this forward to say, oh, another date, oh, another date. That is not me. We have been revealed this time frame. We understand what the connection is. Now we're trying to discern where in this connection, where in this time all of this is. And that's what we're going to go into today. And as I get started, I want to share this with you guys because it was so cute. Please don't take this as a comparison to your spouses. I'm just saying this out of the love I have for my wife and how sweet she is. I know that that many here in the ministry, many in the ministry, are alone when it comes to the revelations, to seeing and understanding what the Spirit has revealed in relation to the is to come. The books that have been opening here over the last 7.5 years, truly revealing the mysteries of the is to come. And I know that many of you are alone in your homes when it comes to your spouses. And I feel for you, but I also know that if my wife was like so many here in the ministry, or a spouse was like mine was like other spouses in the ministry, and just had no interest, or maybe sometimes mocked, there is no way I could have been doing what I've been doing. There's no way. So the Lord's got it all planned out. And I say this because of, just again, how sweet my wife was. My wife was away this past week for work from Monday till Friday night. And while she was gone, we were looking to this connection that went to about the 28th yesterday. So I was looking maybe in, as we talked about before, that Thursday night into Friday that just passed. Just, I guess, 2 days to a day ago. And while we were on the phone earlier in the week when she was gone, I said, well, honey, it's okay that if it comes and the pre-trib happens, I said, then we'll meet each other with the Lord. And if I'm working, the Lord will arrange it all. I said, but there's nothing to fear. The next thing you'll know is you'll either be with the Lord, and the other option is, well, I guess you'll make it back home if it's not. And we were talking about what she wanted to eat, and she said, oh, can you order? She was getting home late, so I was going to order Vietnamese for her, and she told me what dish she wanted. And we were talking about this stuff, and she says, well, if it isn't the time, I said, at least you'll have your Vietnamese food. And I was kind of just joking about it. Oh, honey, that's okay. If you don't vanish to go be with the love of all of eternity and to be there with the Lord forever, Well, at least you got Vietnamese food when you come home. And then she says this: I don't only have Vietnamese food, I have you too. It chokes me up even saying it now. You see, man, I've been blessed. So, with that, I thank my wife and I thank each of you. Whew, I didn't expect that to come. I thank you all. I thank the Lord. And we will continue to do this until He comes. Not that we're going to be pinpointing and trying to figure out the date every single video. That's not what we do. It's just we are in this season and time that everything has pointed to. And that's why I'm going to remain diligent in it until this time passes. But we'll also add things within Scripture and things within it and how it connects and what we're to understand. And we'll bring in new revelation depending how much time we have left. We'll get further in to the differences in the Gospels and other things as I've shared in the past. And we'll go deeper and deeper until that time comes, if it be His will. So with that, let's get started as we always do. For anybody that's new here in Ministry Revealed, I go to this virtually every time. And the reason I do is because you're going to hear things spoken about here in this ministry, if you're new, that you've never heard spoken of before. And those things are listed right here. It's the 14 years and the opening of the books. What you're gonna hear is that the Gospels, the Synoptic Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke are speaking to different people. And what they reveal is the true revelation of the years of the end of days. And when you may not hear it so much in today's teaching, but you'll hear it in many others. And so what I always recommend people to do is go to this playlist right here. Click on the intro right here, Intro to the End Times Revelation. When you do that, it'll bring this up right here. And you'll see the list of all the teachings that I have in this intro series. There's 15 in there. It doesn't mean you have to go watch all of them. What we're talking about is the first 4 teachings right here. These first 4 will begin to give you the understanding of the revelation of everything that's been going on here for 7.5 years. The first one is this one right here. It's a 22-minute intro into what the next 3 are going to go into. It's going to lightly start to open up your understanding, to pose questions, excuse me, that anybody who has studied the Gospels will have had before. And that is differences within the Gospels. They're all over the place. And we've all been told that it was just perspective. You know, this one saw it this way, this one saw it this way, and this one saw it that way. And there is truth into how those things connect when Christ was there. But there is absolute truth in the revelation of them, that they all reveal prophecy in the end of days. You're going to see things like, if you go to Matthew's gospel, you're going to see when Jesus was going to the cross, they arrayed him in a scarlet robe. In Mark, he was arrayed in purple. And in Luke, he was arrayed in a gorgeous white robe. It's crazy. I always say, were they colorblind when they wrote this? No. There's prophecy hidden within all of these differences within the Gospels. And Matthew, Mark, Luke, in the end becomes Luke, Mark, Matthew. The first will be last, the last will be first. That's what's going on. And when you begin to understand these differences, all of Scripture opens up to you in the prophetic. And that's what this second one is. This second one is just a 30-minute intro, a 30-minute Bible study to begin to show you some of these differences and relate them to what they reveal prophetically. Like I just mentioned, in Jesus being arrayed before going to the cross. In Luke, it was a gorgeous robe, which means white, radiant, beautiful, like a bride. In Mark, it was purple, and in Matthew, it was scarlet. Well, purple and scarlet are the two colors of the woman riding the beast in Revelation. But Luke's gorgeous white robe, that's bride. That's a bridal robe. And when you start to see these differences, it will all begin to open up to you. And you will begin to not only understand why we have so many differences within the discourses, but you'll understand what they reveal in the timing of the end of days and who they're speaking to. And that's what will then bring you to the third one, which is another 30-minute Bible study, another 30-minute intro to lead you in to what the Gospels have begun to reveal to you in relation to what they say in the end of days. And you will see that the end of days is not 7 years long, but 14 years and a period called above, a short period called above the 14 years. And what you realize is that that above portion is Luke's discourse or Luke's portion. Mark is the 7 years of seals, and Matthew is to the 7 years of trumpets. And this is where people start losing their minds. This is usually the point when people say, oh, he's crazy, it's not 14 years, it's 7, we've known this for 200-300 years already. No, you've only known part of the story. And I could prove it to you from the beginning of creation all the way to the end of Revelation. I can prove it to you in the different creations from the book of Genesis all the way to the end of Revelation. It's the same story playing out in a fractal over and over and over again. That's why this 15th one, the 15th teaching, it's all a fractal. That will blow your mind, but don't start there. What you're going to realize is this revelation of the 14 years, the true understanding of the end of days, was all misunderstood to being 7 because the fourth video that will reveal it all to you, which is 2 hours and just about 45 minutes, is called It's All Because of Matthew. And once you realize and you take the time to study this out, you will understand that the reason we have come to believe all of our lives for centuries, for decade after decade, that the end of days is only 7 years is because we've all been built on the foundation of the Gospel of Matthew. Churches, seminaries, Bible colleges, schools, all over the place. The foundational teaching of the Gospels comes from the Gospel of Matthew because they've never understood who Mark and who Luke were speaking to. There were people over the centuries who knew there was like a Gentile thing and something else going on with Mark and Luke, but it was never understood as to why. And because we've all been taught from the Gospel of Matthew, everybody, unbeknownst to them, has a foundational belief that it's 7 years of tribulation, that all of creation, from creation until the end of the millennial reign, will be 7,000 years. It's not true. That's less than half the story. And you'll begin to understand why in this teaching here, it's all because of Matthew. It is absolutely awesome. And when you take the time, 22 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, that's not very long. And then you can watch the 245. You guys can have that done in a weekend if you're new. And I promise you it'll be worth your time. All you do is come to this playlist right here, pray over it, study it, see it for yourself. You're going to have times you're probably going to want to turn it off and say, no, this guy's nuts. I promise you, pray over it, seek it out, be a Berean, go through it and understand it for yourself. And you'll see. The Spirit will reveal it right to you. The other place you can go is right here to ministryrevealed.com, and you can go to the intro series. You can click on the intro from the menu and watch the first 4 videos there as well if you'd like it to do it that way. The other thing is some people like to download the videos. It's hard with YouTube, but if you go to Ministry Revealed, there's a one-click download button for all the videos that we have there too, for all of the teachings you can go through. Our book is there. You can get it on Amazon if you really want a paperback. But you can just read it right from the website. You can download the PDF for free. You can listen to it in an Audible in English as well, all for free from the website. All right? So, with that, brothers and sisters, let's get this going. All right. I'm going to start with this one because this was pretty awesome. I was shared this channel maybe a couple months ago or so. And it's been pretty awesome. This guy, I've never seen one when it's just him and his buddy talking like this one is. Generally, he has guests on. And I think I've shared recently in one of them about another Canadian that he had on. And all of this revelation that he had for many, many years, all the way back into the 90s, I think. And had written a book on it and so forth. and just really deep stuff going all the way back to the creations. And this was shared with me just recently, and I thought it was perfect just to open with this. We're often, including myself, believe me, when people give words, or if there's dreams or visions, we have to be careful with those things. But it doesn't mean everything is nothing. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean we throw everything away just because we don't believe some of them. And some of them you could say, well, maybe we're just a little bit more biased to. But remember, we understand things here that haven't been understood before. We have revelation never before understood. We know that there's a group of people being prepared. We know that this group of people being prepared is in solitude, is being kept until the time comes. Okay? So when I hear something like this, and I was just talking with our brother Mike the other day, I've been hearing this quite a bit since around mid-2024. Different things like, in 2025, those hidden ones, from one that I heard last year, the hidden ones will come to be made known in 2025, and essentially would move out the pastors, something along those lines, because of these false doctrines that have been taught, and the misleading, or the lack of understanding, and so much of the church being asleep. I have heard this happening quite a few times since around mid-2024. So when this came, I thought it would be a great share. It's just under 2 minutes in this portion, and it's right up our alley. So let's have a listen to this. All right. There you go. How fitting was that, brothers and sisters? Another one. Another one. Right up the alley that we talk about. And how often do we talk about, Lord, when, please, even if it means, I remember talking with Mike about this, with Mark about this, with Olu about this, and a few others. Just let it be, Lord. Even if it means we got to stay and work, just let it be, so we can know that it's been true and we've understood these things and we're ready to serve. Right? We need to also appreciate, and I'm speaking to myself in this, we need to also appreciate this time of quietness and peace that we're in. Right? I keep complaining, I keep whining, even with my wife, like, I don't know if I can do this if it was another year out. And what I mean by do this is, I don't know if I can just keep doing it on YouTube and just staying locked away in my home as I have for 7.5 years. I don't know that I could keep doing it in this same format. It's been actually literally 7 years, pretty much exactly now, that I've been doing this full time. 7 years in my house, in my garage, doing these teachings. I am ready to get out. It's time to go out and start doing this, right? But until God, right? Until it's time, He's got His people that He's kept and that He's preparing. And when the time comes, we will be looking back probably numerous times at these quiet, peaceful times that we have like this and saying, oh, to have more of those days. All right. And I already knew that too. I knew that within myself. Once it gets going, it's going, guys, because it will be the time of the end. Okay. So let us also enjoy these times. It reminds me of this piece of scripture we know very well. One of the favorites, though I say that a lot in different scriptures. It's all the Lord, so why wouldn't it all be my favorite, right? From 1 Peter chapter 1, starting in verse 1, remember, Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ to the strangers, that's the Gentiles, elect according to the foreknowledge of God the Father, through sanctification of the Spirit unto obedience, and the sprinkling of blood of Jesus Christ, grace unto you, and peace be multiplied. Verse 4, to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, and that fades not away, reserved for you in heaven, who are kept by the power of God through faith unto the revelation, ready to be revealed in the last time, wherein you rejoice greatly, though now for a season, excuse me, though now for a season, if need be, you are in heaviness through manifold temptations, that the trial of your faith, being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ, whom having not seen you love, in whom though now you see him not, yet believing, you rejoice with joy unspeakable, full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, even the salvation of your souls. This is a group being kept. Is it everybody pre-trib? Yeah, it's everybody pre-trib. But it's also specifically to a group remaining who, when the Lord is revealed, when he comes for the 40 days of the Son of Man, this group right here, who was rejoicing before in their faith in him, their salvation will come to an end, because they will be in the presence of the Lord. For those pre-trib, because they will forever be in his presence. But for those remaining to serve him, it's those who are kept, reserved for the time of the end, that when he comes as the Son of Man to begin his 40 days, bam, it all begins. Right in line with what he was just saying. So, now with that, what kind of season and time are we in? What about understanding or looking to the sun, moon, and stars more? All right? I've said it before. My forte is not the sun, moon, and stars. But I understand things in Scripture, and when they talk about the sun, moon, and stars, I can go look for them. And sometimes, do we understand them? No, not fully. Until it comes. You see, even with all the blood moons and everything that happened, and everything that came and went, will it mean something eventually somehow? Maybe. But what about something like this? This was shared in the forum. A lot of people, I believe, had been talking about it. Our brother had shared it with me about a week or two ago. And it's this planetary parade. Okay, the alignment of 7 planets. 7 planets have aligned in this planetary parade, and the next parade of planets won't happen again until 2040. So when did it happen? This spectacular celestial event is going to take place on February 25th, and the next one won't occur again until 2040. Now, I'll show you why I find this interesting on the date it happened, because 28, right? February 28th, to March 1st, right? This is something that just happened, and in different parts of the world is going through until I think March 3rd. But at first, I didn't think too much about it. But you'll remember, if we are looking at this season and time still, which we are, we remember Psalms 19. And Psalms 19 told us, which we know is connected to this pre-trib event and then the coming of the Son of Man in our chapters to years, we know that this connection is to this timing of the Son of Man coming after the wedding. And what does it say? The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line, remember this planetary parade just went out, their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world, In them, excuse me, hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. What just went out? A line of planets. This language being spoken in the sun, moon, and stars that's out there, that most people have no understanding to really grasp what's being said. And I'm one of the worst at it. But there are certain things we know to look to, and this is one of them. Their line is gone out. Well, that's exactly what it is. This parade, this alignment of planets following each other all on that one side of the sun so that it's visible in the sky. Well, this all happened, excuse me, on February 28th, 2025. Okay? So it happened February 28th, you can say to Adar 1st, right? In this time right here. At the time of the beginning of a new month. Okay? Right at the time of a dark moon going in, like the new moon time. I thought that was pretty interesting. But when I first read it, I'd still kind of set it aside. Which is why I didn't share on it in the last teaching. If I had, I might have connected it to right here. Right? Which is what we were talking about in the last teaching, this period of time right here, as I was discussing with my wife as well. That Thursday to Friday that we were looking at the last couple days. Well, then what happened is, and even actually going back to Psalms 19, this point right here, their line is gone out. So it's going out before the Son of Man comes to begin his 40 days. So was this a marker right here? Is this something we could be looking at? Is this really something? Well, like I said, at first, I kind of put it aside because I'd only seen that one piece. I hadn't really paid attention to the fact that it said 2040 before there would be another alignment. And I thought, okay, well, 2040, here's the alignment on the 28th, and the next one we know won't come until 2040. And I thought, okay, the reason I first didn't put any thought into it is because I thought it was still going to be around February or March in 2040. And then I read about it. And I came to find out when in 2040. And this is what I came across. So NASA says that the planetary alignment isn't super rare, but because they don't happen every year, they're still notable to witness. The next planetary alignment won't happen until September 8th, 2040. September 8th, 2040? Soon as I saw that, I was like, yep, yep, that's got to be it. Of course, I went to look, and look at that. September 8th, 2040 is the Feast of Trumpets. September 8th, 2040 is the Feast of Trumpets. Now, to most of you, you might say, well, okay, what does 2040 have to do with anything? What does it matter that it's Feast of Trumpets? What does that have to do with anything? So far out in 2040. But you guys will know, if those of you who have been around for a bit, for me, it's pretty telling. It's extremely telling. It doesn't mean it has to be anything. I'm just saying, because you remember when this ministry officially began. When the revelation started was on September 8th of 2017 here in this ministry. I've talked about it many times. It's talked about in the book. It was on September 8th, 2017. I find that very interesting that this ends, or this won't happen again until September 2040 on September 8th. But there's more to it than that, right? Let me show you. When does the tribulation of the Jubilee end? Remember what the end of days really is, guys? The end of days that we always talk about, or that we mostly focus on, is the above and the 14 years. But then we also talk about the 15-year being the Jubilee. But there's also a big picture, right? We know that it was 7 times 7 years to get to the final Jubilee. But what else do we know? That there's the big picture, just like all of creation, which is 777, and then the 22nd year. Book of Revelation, 22 chapters. The Hebrew alphabet, 22 letters. We know this is the big picture revelation of the end of days. And it includes the 22nd year. It includes after the 7 easy that we say, quote unquote easy, 7 years of seals, 7 years of trumpets, then it's the final Jubilee. What is the end of the story? At the end of 14 years? No, at the end of the Jubilee. The story is 22 or 15. Right? We see this even in when we talk about it with Deuteronomy. We know Deuteronomy, there's the 3 feasts of the Lord. The first one, even though it's the middle one, is the Feast of Weeks that goes first, that we know is 4 months early. We'll talk about that more later. But then it's 6 days of unleavened bread, right? And then the 7th is the solemn assembly to the Lord. Well, that's a picture of 6 years of seals, and the 7th year of seals, the great multitude rapture. That is the week of unleavened bread. And then what do we have? Then you've got the 7 days of tabernacle, like the 7 years of trumpets. And this solemn assembly is the equivalent of the 8th day of tabernacle. So there's your 7 years of trumpets, or your 7 days of tabernacles. And the 8th day is the solemn assembly. Those feasts are the revelation of the end of days. They're the revelation of pre-trib to the 6th to the 7th year mid-trib, to the 7 years and the post-trib, and the new beginning with the Jubilee. So these things are all explained in it. Well, guess what else we know about it? It's all over. This is just the beginning of the Jubilee, by the way. Okay? It ends in 2040. Watch this. Okay? So it ends in 2040. So if here we are, right here, in this period of time and everything about to begin, then we end up at the end on the Sabbath sides, right, on the sowing and reaping side in red, we end up at the 7th year of trumpets, or the 14th year that we call it, or the big picture of 49 years of the 7 times 7. This would also be the 21st in our big picture on the left side of the other chart. And then what do we have? The Jubilee, which would be the 15th or the 22nd, we would call it, or what it really is, the 50th. And when does it end? It ends right here. Feast of Trumpets 2040. And the Feast of Trumpets 2040 is September 8th. So that caught my attention, and I thought it was worth sharing because it has a connection to the beginning of our ministry. It has a connection to the count, to the charts, to the very end, which brings it to the very end of the Jubilee, which is the revelation of pre, mid, post at the time of the end of the post. I thought that was really interesting, which means what? If there's something to be understood in this, then this period of time and this alignment was probably very significant for us. It's probably very significant. And this alignment, we have their line is gone out to the ends of the earth. They've uttered speech and knowledge for us to seek out. And it has a connection before anything like this happens again, right at the very end of all tribulation in the final Jubilee. I thought that was worth taking note. So when we look at this, I thought, yeah, man, that it kind of gives a little bit more hope, because is there a reason, excuse me, why it happened at this month, when you consider that the next time it happens isn't until 2040 in September? And it happened in different forms in 2024, I think once or twice, which means it was also at different months. So is there a reason that the heavens are declaring this right here, and that it's not being declared again until the time we can show on the charts in relation to the years that it won't happen again until everything's over? Kind of like a beginning warning and then one when it all comes to an end. You'll see where I'm going at with this, because you're seeing that it's reflecting then what's the point of Adar? What's the point of Adar if everything we had been looking at was to be Shavat which is supposed to be the 11th month. Ah, you already heard my tone there, didn't you? Which is supposed to be the 11th month. Well, guess what? Shavat is the 11th month, right? Adar is the 12th month. But why were we looking at Shavat, brothers and sisters? Excuse me. Why were we looking at Shavat? Well, because of Aquarius, of course. Because of Aquarius. Well, that's the trail we're going down today. Because what ended up happening is, I'm trying like you guys, and I'm trying to understand, Lord, what on earth? What have we missed? Here, I'm going to close this one out. What have we missed that we're out of Shavat, which is supposed to be Aquarius? Where have we gone awry? What's happening, Lord? Because believe me, guys, like I said, I still believe this is the 70th year, and it's going to happen in Aquarius. Okay, I'm still as convinced as can be because I cannot see a path forward for 70 years after this. So I kept looking, and I was talking with our brother Mike about even the Torah calendar. And so I was going in and looking at other calendars. I like this, There's your pre, there's your mid, there's your post, right? It's like the pre, mid, post picture. But we know, again, this is going to happen 4 months early, okay? But what had happened is I'm going through this, and they relate, and they say, here are the years where they were perfectly in line, where they're off by a month. So the ones in red are the ones where the Hebrew calendar is like literally a full month off. This is the Hebrew side. This would be their Torah calendar. And they believe it always has to be in March. And so you see in 2024, they were saying it's like a whole month off. But 2025, it's only a difference of a day all the way through. So I thought, oh, okay. Well, it's only difference of a day. But they say in 2024, when the Jews on the Hebrew calendar added an extra month, that they shouldn't have added an extra month there. And I thought, oh, well, if they shouldn't have added there, maybe there's something we can figure out in this. And so I go look at their Torah calendar link, and guess what I find out? All they did was add a 13th month. That's all they did. They just added a 13th month this year. So meaning because it wasn't added like the Hebrew one, which means this was, guess what? What was this? This would have been their Adar. Wait a second. What'd you say? All right. This would have been their Adar, and this would have been their second Adar. So all they did was add another month a year later. So I started getting a little disillusioned with it. I'm like, well, that doesn't do anything. One's adding an entire month showing that the calendar was off. The other one saying, no, they did it wrong. And then all they do is add a full month a year later on their calendar, showing that their calendar, their count is off throughout the years as well. Like these things we've been talking about all this time, right? So I thought, what? Lord, what are we missing, bro? Something's going on here. Of course, it's possible that it's still not the year. That's always a possibility. But we've got the scriptures that talk about it. We know it's 70. When 70 is over, bam. We know that count relates from a Nisan count. We know that Leviticus and in 19 and 25 relate to these different sides of the calendar. We've counted them out. We've done so from Christ at the time of his birth, to the time when he declared the Jubilee, to the time from his death and resurrection, and what all these things equal going forward. And I can't see another day, another year. There's nothing in Scripture that says, oh, maybe, in relation to how to count it. So I said to myself, well, I'm not sold on this Torah calendar, guys, these guys either, because they're just adding another month. So I go to look and say, well, what month is Aquarius? Check this out. I said, is Aquarius the 12th month? And it comes back saying, no, Aquarius is not the 12th constellation. It is considered the 11th constellation in the zodiac, coming before Pisces, which is the 12th constellation. Did you hear it? Did you see that? It comes before Pisces, and Pisces is the 12th constellation? Where is Pisces the 12th constellation? How is Pisces the 12th constellation? Pisces is the first month, isn't it? We've shown this in Stellarium and in places all over the place. Pisces is the beginning of the year now, is spring. Look at the way it says. It says Aries is month 1. Taurus is month 2. Gemini, Cancer goes through all of them. Aquarius and Pisces. So we're being told that Aquarius is the 11th month. That's what we're being told, right? But when does Aquarius come? Before Pisces. You see where I'm going with this? Well, you'll see in a moment. Check this out. So, of course, I went into astronomy to look these things up more and to see all of this cycle. Like, just look at this. Okay? It goes counterclockwise. Okay? So there's Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus. You notice something? This is the time of the wheat harvest, right? So you got 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but essentially that'll be the answer. Well, look what happens. I go into looking at all this, and we see the precession of the equinoxes and everything else, right? Well, listen to what it says. In ancient times, the vernal equinox, or the first day of spring, was in Aries. You see, most people know this, that have studied this. In the time of Christ and before Jesus, for several years, right, for a couple thousand or whatever, we know, but in particular, that at the time of Christ, Aries was the first month of the year in spring. Due to the precession, which is the precession of the equinox, it moved into Pisces around 100 BC, where it is now, when it will eventually then move into Aquarius, and Aquarius would then be spring. Did you see that? What did it say? In ancient times, it was in Aries. But due to the precession of the equinoxes, it's now moved into Pisces, and it's been there for almost 2,000 years. It's been there for almost 2,000 years. It's been in Pisces. It's been in Pisces for almost 2,000 years. We know that this is the beginning of the year of Nisan. Yet the world tells us what? The world of astronomy and astrology, but all of them say Aries is still how we count it, because they haven't changed from when it was before the equinox, before the precession of the equinox. So they remain counting it from here the way they had done it in ancient times, and they didn't move just because of the precession of the equinox. So they still count it from here, which makes Aquarius the 11th month. But if that's the case, guess what? They should actually still be in Taurus. You guys know about this, right? We know that it used to always be Taurus. You see, to the Egyptians, the constellation Taurus was a sacred bull that was associated with the renewal of life in spring. When the spring equinox entered Taurus, the constellation would become covered by the sun in the western sky as spring began. The sacrifice led to the renewal of land. To the early Hebrews, Taurus was the first constellation in the zodiac, and consequently, it was represented as the first letter of their alphabet, Aleph. Aleph. It was represented as the first letter of their alphabet because it was the first constellation in the zodiac, because it was at this time of renewal in spring. So why do these guys still say the reason we do it is because back in ancient times it was Aries? Well, if you go back to further ancient times, it was Taurus. So why don't they just go from Taurus? That's where it was. But no, because when all of these things began and all of the way they did things and what they associated them with began when it was in Aries, they stick with Aries and they don't change just because of the precession of the equinox. But there is a precession of the equinox, is there not? There is a precession of the equinox, just as it was in Taurus before. It's no longer in Aries anymore. Nisan and spring, the beginning of the year, is in Pisces. It's in Pisces. So let's have a look at this. 12 constellations. We'll use this picture right here. Like I said, we know they go counterclockwise. Here's Taurus, which we now know is the third month, right? That's the month of Sivan. Then you have Aries, Pisces, Aquarius. Wait, so what? Wait a second. What do we have? Before Pisces is Aquarius. Before Pisces is Aquarius, yet the world is telling us, and they still go by the calculation, that Aries is the real constellation to start spring. So do you know what they do with our calendar? Excuse me. You know what they do with our calendar? Is they would say that this is Aries. We know it's not Aries because it's when the sun moves in. It's when the sun moves into Aries. The sun doesn't move into Aries until Ayar. This is why it's always a month forward from where they have it. And so why have they twisted it like this to say, oh, well, this is really where Aries is? No, it isn't. This is really where Aries is. This is why everybody gets all twisted, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows that it's in Pisces. Yet they still declare it as Aries. So instead of declaring it when the sun comes into Aries, okay? So instead of declaring it when the sun comes into Aries, it goes this way. So instead of declaring it when the sun comes into Aries, they declare it from Pisces because the sun is here. So once this passes, you're seeing Aries come next. And that's the way they try to justify it. The reality, brothers and sisters, is the second month of Ayar is Aries. We've proven this. We've gone through it many times over the years, and it's literally already understood. And it's due to the precession of the equinoxes. But what does the world tell us? The world tells us that no, this is this is your Pisces right here. This is your Pisces, and this is your Aquarius. But what do we know? What do we know, brothers and sisters? We know Taurus is the third month. It's a fact. We know Aries is the second month. We know Pisces is the first month of Nisan. Then what's Aquarius? You see where I'm going with this? You see where I'm going with this? It becomes pretty clear, remember? If Pisces is Nisan, which it is, and we all know this is Pisces now. It was Aries in Jesus' time, but with the precession of the equinoxes, we know that this is Pisces in the beginning of the year. Excuse me. But the world tells us, nope, this is just Aries based on our different movement, and this is Pisces. We can prove for a fact it is not. Do you understand what I'm getting at? Can you see what it is I'm getting at? if this is Pisces, which it is, and what comes before Pisces is Aquarius, excuse me, then what is this? If this is Pisces, again, which it is, and Aquarius comes before Pisces, which it unequivocally does, then what is this? On the Hebrew calendar, they call it the 12th month. But that's just on the Hebrew calendar. On the way things run in the world, they would call this the time for what? The 11th month? What are we looking for, guys? We're looking for Aquarius. We are looking for Aquarius. We are looking for Reuben, the man with the pitcher of water. And Reuben, Aquarius, the timing of the man with the pitcher of water comes before Pisces, which is spring. Not kind of, not sort of, unequivocally, right there for all of us to see. Which is telling us Adar, in our modern times, is Aquarius. Adar is Aquarius, brothers and sisters. I was pretty excited when I saw that, because that's why I'm giving this the title I'm giving it. Hope is alive. Hope is alive because we can show. We're not supposed to be over here. It's right before Pisces. It's right before Pisces. Which means if this is technically really what the world would call 11th month because it's Pisces, then what would we be looking for? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? But remember, this is the dark day, right? This is new moon day. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What are we looking for? Well, what were we looking for back here? You guys know what we were looking for. We're looking for 9/11 from a 5/11 ninth of Av that is also 11/9. 9/11, 11/9. This is what we were looking for in February, right? Right here. What we believed was the 11th month, 9th day. But we believed it with a connection to it being the month of Aquarius. Well, I've just shown you that this was not Aquarius. This is Aquarius. And they call Aquarius the 11th month. Aquarius is called the 11th month because they call Pisces the 12th and they call Aries the 1st. Which means to the world, we're being told this is 11. So when we go to Aquarius, which is the one coming before Pisces, then our 9/11 that we were looking at here wasn't really the 9/11 or 11/9. It was actually 10. The real 9/11, according to the sun, moon, and stars, is right here. Right here. Because Aquarius, brothers and sisters, Aquarius is the answer we've been looking for. Aquarius is the tribes in the wilderness, the face of a man being Reuben, the man with the pitcher of water. Aquarius comes before Pisces. And the world says Aries comes first, and Aquarius is the 11th. You see why I say we still have hope, brothers and sisters? It's right here. We're looking for Aquarius. That's Aquarius before Pisces. No questions asked. Not maybe, not kind of. 100% Aquarius before Pisces. This is really the beginning of the year. They say this is, which means this would be what the world calls 11, when really it's 12. But this is called 11. Well, if Aquarius comes before Pisces, and I know I'm repeating it, if Aquarius comes before Pisces, then Adar is Aquarius. Let me show you something. Watch this. This is Aquarius, okay? This was from yesterday, and this timing of dark moon, okay? We know once it gets to about 2%, then in the evening portion, it'll begin its count. And watch what happens. You see, I had Aquarius starting right here. I mean, it's clearly in Capricorn, but you could see how Aquarius comes over, and it's kind of, the constellations are different sizes, so it's difficult to know which timing is which sometimes. So when we get to here, that should be the end of Aquarius, and in the understanding that we had, it was believed then that now is the 12th month. And so what happened is I went to look at this a few days ago, 2-3 days ago, and I thought to myself, well, wait a second. What is Adar? What is Adar, brothers and sisters? Hello? What's Adar? What constellation is Adar? If Shavat was supposed to be Aquarius, then what constellation is Adar of the 12 tribes? What constellation is Adar supposed to represent? And that's when I went to go look at the constellations, and I was like, what? There's no constellation between Aquarius and Pisces? If there's no constellation between Aquarius and Pisces, then how come Aquarius is over here? It should be here. And so what had happened is when I saw this new moon day being in Aquarius, whereas over here, it was way over here in Capricorn, I thought, oh, is it possible then that this is Aquarius? The start of the month of Aquarius? It turns out, as you guys just saw, it not kind of is. It absolutely is. This is the month of Aquarius because Aquarius comes before Pisces. Remember, if Aquarius, from what I was just showing you, watch this. If Aquarius really began here, okay, in January going in through February, and then we get to here, this is supposed to be what? What comes in this portion of time right here? What is Adar? What can Adar possibly be if Pisces is Nisan? If this was supposed to be from here to here, like we just saw, if that was supposed to be Aquarius of the 11th month, and Pisces follows Aquarius, how is it we have a month in between before Pisces starts? Watch. There's Pisces. March 29th, Pisces begins. We go March 29th to 30, right? There it is. Nisan 1 in Pisces. This is the beginning of the year in spring for Pisces. Yet we had an entire 30 days of what? Emptiness? Nothingness? No constellation? Well, of course, that's impossible. So where did it start? In the man with the pitcher of water. just because of the moon, we know that the moon has its portions of being off. It's just started later in Aquarius. But if from here to here is nothing and then it starts Pisces, then that means from here to here must be Aquarius, not from here to here. The evidence is found in the beginning of the year, Nisan starting in Pisces. And if there's a whole month of emptiness, apparent emptiness, that began in Aquarius, what do you think it is? Of course, it's Aquarius. And what do we see? Look at that. The planetary alignments, right? We can't see where the other ones are here on this one, but you can see there's the planetary alignment that we were talking about. I'm going to close this because it's using up a lot of juice. Okay, so what do we just find out now, guys? That we're in New Moon Day, and we're in what they say is the 11th month. What the world runs by is calling it the 11th month, which on the Hebrew calendar is the 12th. But the real key to understanding it is that it's Aquarius, because Aquarius comes before Pisces. And we're looking for what? To follow the man with the pitcher of water to the upper room. And we were looking for 9/11, 11/9, knowing that the world calls Pisces the 12th instead of the 1st, and calls Aquarius the 11th instead of the 12th. Can it be? Is there truly hope still alive, brothers and sisters? That March 9th is the real 11/9/9/11. It's either going to be from here, or we would give it what? To here, right? But remember our brother's audible? Remember my piece of paper that I had on the side of my bed for 5 years? Never knew, never could understand what it was. And it all made sense right here on 11/9/9/11. When that came and passed, I was really confused. Because everything, not just those things, but everything pointed to this. Unless, because the world has everything off by a month due to the constellations, and the constellations never change. But our calling of months do. But the constellations never change. And we're looking for Aquarius. That would make this 9/11. And that would make this the 15th. And then, of course, the Lord coming on the 8th day to begin his 40 days. It would be a carbon copy of what we were looking at from here to here, just now officially in Aquarius. I thought that was exciting. I figured you guys would like this too, because now we're getting somewhere. Now we can see, whoa, wait a second. This isn't made up stuff. Now we're tracking with literal constellations. So let's take this forward. Let's bring this forward a little bit more. What about in John chapter 4? Just to make another little point on this, and we'll touch on this in relation to the 4 months early as well. Give me a sec. Coffee. All right. So in John chapter 4, remember this? Of course you do. We've talked about it a lot lately. Say ye not, there are yet 4 months, then comes harvest. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. Okay? Look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. Well, you know what? When we pointed to this, do you remember what we were pointing to? We were pointing to, of course, the New Year of Trees, which is Tu B'Shavat, which is when the almond blossoms, when the almond trees start blossoming, right? Well, think about it. What does it say? It says the fields, for they are white already to harvest. The fields are white already to harvest. Well, around February 15th, at the time of the almond blossom, the trees are just budding. The flowers are just budding. We're looking for the expanse of the land, right? The ground. This is the word for fields. The fields, the ground is white. And it dawned on me this afternoon as I was putting it together that, hold on a second. He's saying the ground is already white. It's already white and ready to harvest. Well, if this is the time frame of the almond blossoms budding and blooming, do they all fall to the ground right away? Would they start falling to the ground already right away? No, they start budding and then they start blooming, but they don't instantly fall to the ground. You know, I showed you that video. I think that short one. I think it was on Facebook or something. And the guy was spinning his camera around, and we saw some petals on the ground. But it wasn't all white. It was just a couple of them here and there that you could see there's white on the ground. But Jesus said the fields are white, meaning not just a little couple patches here and there. So how much time should we give it? Right as soon as it buds and blossoms, they're all going to fall to the ground and the ground's going to be covered in white? Or is it possible it takes maybe a week, couple weeks, 3 weeks as they really all start to blossom and fall to the ground? That kind of makes more sense to me. Never dawned on me before. This is when the trees are still all white. We're looking for when the ground is white and those blossoms have all fallen to the ground. So that's something interesting as well. But what about the other piece? What about 4 months then comes the harvest? Well, let's go look at the zodiacs, right? Let's go look at the constellations. When does the wheat harvest begin? In Taurus. So you got Taurus, that's one constellation, right? That's 1 month. Aries is 2 months. Pisces is 3 months. Aquarius is 4 months. How long did it say? You say 4 months. Okay, well, here's Taurus. Here's Aries. Here's Pisces. And here's Aquarius. 1, 2, 3, 4 months. You see how we're still in this? We are still in this, guys. And it's still crystal clear. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed with the exception of understanding where Aquarius truly is. There is no constellation between Aquarius and Pisces. That I was so frustrated when I saw that. I was so frustrated when I saw that. If there's no constellation between here and here, then that means Aquarius on the Hebrew calendar must be Adar. Yet we're told it's the 11th. Now, let me show you something else. A lot of people say, well, no, there's a 13th constellation. A lot of them would say through Ophiuchus. But I want to make a point in this. Ophiuchus, even if he is occasionally kind of added in certain circles, where is he added? What do Jews do? They add it right here. They'll add a 13th month in here. Some would say, well, really, it would equal here, right? But they always add a 13th month at the end. We saw the Torah calendar. They were even adding a 13th month. Where do they add it? At the end. Why do they add it at the end? Well, because they're trying to catch up. But what I found was interesting is when looking at the constellations and seeing this Ophiuchus portion that is occasionally submitted, as you see, it's not one of the 12 constellations, but it has a connection to being like a 13th constellation in it, which is pretty interesting. It's separate from the 12, but it occasionally gets added in certain contexts. Well, when we go look at this, we see the same thing all throughout Scripture. What was Paul? Paul is known as the 13th apostle. He was recognized as an apostle, check this out, 3 years after meeting Peter and James, right? 3 years. And we know that the Jews add a 13th month about every third year, 2 to 3 years, right? And they add a 13th month. Well, where do they do it? They're always adding it at the end in here. Well, the Hebrew calendar was none here, but why do they always add it at the end? They just do it at the end to make that point of catching up. But if Ophiuchus is the constellation that's added in on occasion, kind of makes sense that it maybe should be added in the midst of the year and not at the end. But we see the same picture. It is 12. Jesus had 12 apostles. There are 12 tribes. We'll get into that too. But those 12 apostles, an event happens, and then the Lord brings in a 13th. And it wasn't until 3 years later. Well, what about the tribes? The tribes had the similar thing, didn't they? According to the Bible, there are 12 tribes. Well, the tribe of Levi is often mentioned alongside the others. They are typically not counted as one of the 12 tribes because their role was primarily as the priestly class, set apart from the other tribes. Because then what happened? Well, then we know that, where is it? Then we know, oh, I thought I had it here. That what ended up happening is, of course, Judah, it's because I'm reading at the same time here. I thought I had this piece pulled up. Let me see. No. So what do we know happened was, of course, Joseph. So there were 12 tribes. But Levi, as we did this teaching, remember, Levi wasn't supposed to be the priestly line. It was supposed to be the firstborn from among all the tribes that would be the Lord's. But because they all screwed up and Levi remained, Levi became the ones. Now, was it because they didn't worship the golden calf or whatever it was? There was something else. Anyways, so then what happened is Levi was pulled from among the 12 and became the one that was apportioned to the father, right? The priestly line, which meant there was only now 11 tribes. But then Joseph had 2 sons. And of course, we know how that story plays out. In fact, let me see here. I'll bring this up again, this picture of the tribes in the wilderness, right? Here's this picture of the tribe in the wilderness, as we've been talking about. Reuben, the man with the pitcher of water, the timing of the Son of Man. You have Simeon, Reuben, Gad, Manasseh, Ephraim, Benjamin, Asher, Dan, Naphtali, Issachar, Judah, Zebulun. Where's Joseph? Where's Joseph? You see, it's because you got to have your 12 tribes, and then you got Levi in the middle. So who are Ephraim and Manasseh? Well, of course, they're Joseph. But his 2, because of Joseph's goodness and his righteousness, he had 2 sons, and he had 2 portions through his sons to make up what? The 12 plus the one in the middle, 13. So there was still, like the apostles, yes, there are 12, but there's really 13 as well. And we have this same storyline in the constellations. But wherever that 13th one should be added, it's not always supposed to be added after Aquarius between Pisces. It should probably be added in the midst of the year with this connection to Ophiuchus. But the point in saying that is that there are 12 with a 13th insertion sometimes. But it never changes that Aquarius comes before Pisces. Never changes that Aquarius comes before Pisces. And if Aquarius never changes from coming before Pisces, well then guess what? This is the end of what we're looking for right here. And this would be the connection to the beginning of our 50 days, to the 7-day wedding, and the return of the Lord as the white horse rider on the 8th day from here to here in True Aquarius. Now, let me make a note of this as well. Just like we did up here, where we went from here to here, but then showed the possibility of here to here. Okay? That 2-week window. I'm going to still say that 2-week window is open as well. Okay? That it could be within all of this. Though, just as I said before in February, I believe this to be the connection, just like we did in February, just like the connection to August. And why? Because of the audible and because of my paper, which is 9/11/11/9. True Aquarius, and then the coming of the Son of Man on the 16th day. Let me bring this up. You guys will remember this. Again, something we've showed on a number of times here in the Book of Jubilees, okay? Here in the, whoops. Okay, this one right here in the Book of Jubilees. I still believe that, and I've bounced on this a couple of times, but I only do it when the time passes to see that maybe there's more to this. Remember this. Of the new moon of the 3rd month came to the well of oath. Okay, so again, we know that this well is connected to the story of Jacob with Leah and Rachel. We know it's connected in John chapter 4 in the story of the woman at the well, and then what happens. We know it's with Rebecca. It's always this connection that starts at the well, and it's the 3rd month at the well of oath. And then we see on the 7th day of this month, okay, Jacob remembered the dream, and he waited as to whether he should go down to Joseph. He remained 7 days. I do believe still that these 7 days are the 7-day wedding, which means from that, we know new moon day isn't really the first one. So from that 7th to the 8th day, which would be the 9th of the month, is the beginning, that time of the pre-trib with the wedding. It'll last for 7 days. Okay, from that 8th to the 15th. And then what does it say? And he celebrated the harvest festival of first fruits with old grain. So all we're doing is applying the exact same thing that we've done in the other months. So this is dark moon day. So you have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, the 7th month, and then he observes for 7 days. Okay, he waits for 7 days to see whether he should go down or not. I believe this is the wedding time. And then what does he do? Then he observes the harvest festival of first fruits with old grain. This is Leah. And sometimes that could sound like maybe this is where the pre-trib should be. And we should, instead of doing the count from here or from here, we should be doing the count from, in here. Because we're talking about Leah and the first fruits with old grain, right? That represents Leah, the older before the younger. But I believe what it's saying is that this is the connection to the pre-trib wedding group. And this right here is the remnant. The remnant serving the Lord workers, who then the Lord returns what? On the 16th day. What did it say? Then on the 16th day, the Lord appeared. This is the Lord coming then on the 16th day to begin his 40 days of the Son of Man. Which means, yes, the bride would go here, the pre-trib group, but the remnant are the ones connected with Leah, and they're the ones, yes, there's the portion that goes, but there's the portion that remains. Those who will serve the Lord, like Leah that followed him and served him honorably throughout her life. Okay? Like we see in In let's go to it real quick. One of my favorite. There I go again. One of my favorites. That's so clear, right? And it came to pass in Judges 15:1, within a while after, in the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with a kid, and he said, I will go in unto my wife in the chamber, but her father would not suffer him to go in. And her father said, I verily thought that you had utterly hated her. So it's the time of wheat harvest. He's going to his wife, and his father-in-law says, I thought you hated her. Just like Leah wasn't liked, right? He wasn't the one that Jacob really wanted. It's not that the Lord hates the preacher of Gentile bride. It wasn't the one that he came for, right? And he says, I thought you utterly hated her. Therefore, I gave her to thy companion. I would say given her to the Holy Ghost, right? That first portion is spirit-filled. Is not her younger sister, like Rachel, fairer than she? Take her instead, right? So again, and what's it connected to? Wheat harvest. The time of wheat harvest. All of these things is this connection to the wheat harvest. But we know 4 months early. That's what we're looking for. It's with this understanding that in relation to being at the well of oath and the 3rd month and the Feast of Weeks, that we know this is going to happen 4 months earlier. And this connection is still all going to play out the same because the Lord said it would take place 4 months earlier. But this old fruit, this old grain would be the remnant group remaining, which is why it's 3rd month, 15th day that we're reading there. That the remnant are that first fruits that are going to remain to serve the Lord, just as Christ was the first fruits with the barley. And then what does it say? Then on the 16th, the Lord appeared. Well, that would be the beginning of his 40 days. You know, if anybody would have told me this without going to look into where Aquarius was and how this all got twisted to us in Aquarius, I would have just thought somebody was, I would have dismissed them. I would have just, whatever. Yeah, okay, sure. I know what I'm looking for and it's past. But this is what happens when you seek and you're diligent. And again, I'm not saying this is it, but I'm showing you what the evidence shows. Adar is Aquarius. And we are looking for Aquarius. So I'm going to remain in hope till the end of March. After that, well, maybe it is another year. But maybe then we could look into Sivan where Taurus is. But I'm not even speaking that language right now because I believe the 70th year. I believe Aquarius. And we can now prove Aquarius is Adar. You know what some people are saying? Purim. It's got to be Purim. And for years and still to this day, I would say it ain't going to be Purim, guys. Because Purim has zero to do with the Gentiles. It has nothing to do with the Gentiles. Now, does it look like it's going to happen around this time of Purim? Well, yes, but actually not, right? It would be earlier. It would be earlier than Purim. But there is a connection to, then the remnant workers, right? Those that have been kept secret, and then the Lord coming. I mean, all this connection is Purim. Should it all be really Purim? I don't think so. Not in the sense that you might think. Because if you go to the story of Purim, let me show it to you right off the bat. I'm not going to go into everything of Purim or into Esther about Purim, except to show you something right here. In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants and the power of Persia and Media. See, it's this thing, this connection in the 3rd year. He makes a a feast and to both great and small for 7 days. It sounds like a copycat of Christ, but there's this connection to being in the 3rd year. Okay? There is no connection to the pre-trib to the bride. Though you could say, if you want, when we look at Shushan Palace and you see what it means the white and lilies, right? So it's appealing in that sense, right? From whiteness, the trumpet lily, right? And the look of it and all being white and joy and bright and gladness. So, and we see a banquet for the small and great for 7 days in the court of his garden. And this is all right away in chapter 1. I mean, it sounds pretty good. Maybe it is a typology of it, but I don't think it's what reveals the answer to saying, hey, we're looking for Purim, because Purim never happened until the end where the connection came in. The Jews, through Esther, never got this victory and so forth at the beginning. It came in the end. And that was that time connected to Purim. Okay? We are not connected. The pre-trib is not a Jewish bride. It's the Gentile bride. And a lot of people like to connect to this when the time comes because they always read from Matthew. Right? They're always looking from this Jewish perspective. We are not Esther. The pre-trib bride are the Ruths. But the Ruths are observed 4 months early. And it's supposed to be in Aquarius. So then why does this timing and this timing to the coming of the Son of Man and being this connection to the end of the week with Purim, why is Purim there? Why is it equaling Purim? If, again, we'll always quantify if this is really the time. Well, let's go have a look at some things. Let's go look at Luke chapter 21, the pre-trib verses. In Luke 21:34, it says, "Take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with suffering and drunkenness, and cares of this life, so that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come upon all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. And in the daytime he was teaching in the temple, and at night he went out and abode in the mount that is called Olives, the Mount of Olives. And all the people came early in the morning for to hear him." So what are we warned about? Drunkenness is a big thing. We're warned about not being caught up in the cares of this world and being in drunkenness. We know that it's those watching and praying to be accounted worthy. We know that Jesus does this only in Luke's discourse. Then they all go to him early in the morning to hear him. Well, you guys know the other connection to this. If we go to John chapter 8, we see that John chapter 8 starts with the same thing. Jesus went out, remember our chapters to years, Jesus went out to the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again to the temple, and all the people came to him, and he sat down and taught them. And then what do we see? The woman caught in adultery. It's a picture of the Gentile woman. There's the stone's throw. He lifted up himself. Remember, this lifted up is found in Luke chapter 13 in relation to the woman, and it talked about 18 years and 18 years and 18 years all over the place. We talked about that. And then what does it say? Then Jesus is left alone, and the woman standing before him. So it's only Jesus bent over, writing on the sand, and the woman now standing before him. Like I've said many times, it's like a proposal. And then he says, "Go and sin no more." Okay, this prophetic picture of these events happening from the pre-trib and during the 1-week wedding. And then the Lord comes as the white horse rider to begin his 40 days, as we've taught from Isaiah 9 and all over the place, even going to the creation story that shows in John 8:12, "Then spake he again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life." Okay, all of this walking in the light, not in the darkness. Okay, this keeping from being caught up in the cares of this world, caught up in the time of drunkenness. What do we know about Luke chapter 1? This was one of our favorites. I remember this when Luke in order was discovered, right? when we were revealing Luke in order. And we have this bold statement here from Luke. Chapter 1, starting in verse 1. For as many as have taken in hand to set forth in order, like Mark and Matthew, okay? To set forth in order the declaration of those things which are most surely believed among us. Okay? It's almost like even those people teaching from Matthew and a little bit of Mark and even less from Luke, they always teach us believing from Matthew and setting these things in order. Luke says, the declaration of those things which are most surely believed among us. Of course, we still believe Matthew and Mark. We know that's the gospel, right? But it's not in order. And then Luke says, even as they delivered them unto us, which from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word, it seemed good to me also, having had perfect understanding of all things from the very first, to write unto thee in order. You see? And this ended up being the revelation for us that kicked off Luke 1, 2, 3, and 4, chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4, and what it revealed. Now, why am I bringing these things up? Well, some of our brothers were posting some of these things in relation to Purim, and one of our brothers, Herman and Charlie, were going through these things, and it brought up 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Listen to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. All of these things that we talked about. But of the times and seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly. This word perfectly is the exact same one from Luke chapter 1 when he says he knows all things in order. Okay? When he says having had perfect understanding of all things from the very beginning and in order. It's the same word. Okay? For yourselves. So there's a group, a Luke portion, which Luke is the pre-trib, right? Luke is the pre-trib, and there's a remnant from among them, and it says, for yourselves knowing perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Meaning there's a group that's escaped, and that travail is about to begin. Well, you guys will remember this. What do we know about this? The Revelation 12, verse 1, the great sign, woman, so on and so forth, right? 12 stars. And then what do we know? We know that the pre-trib happens from right here to right here. Okay? This is where the pre-trib is connected. And it says, and she being with child cried travailing. What is this word for travailing, guys? What's the revelation of it? It's the beginning of the 40 days of the Son of Man. It's the beginning of the 40 days of the Son of Man. So this travailing starts. The Son of Man shows up. Nobody else is going to be able to escape at this point. All those who are caught off with what? They're going to be caught off guard with their drunkenness and cares of this world. And look at what he says, proving this time of the Son of Man coming in his 40 days. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, that you should be that day should overtake you as a thief. You are children of the light, children of the day. We are not the children of night nor of darkness. There's that same conversation again. At this time of his 40 days beginning, at the time when this group will not be able to escape, and those having had perfect understanding who are part of his light, not of the darkness. And what does it say? Therefore, let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober. This is the same conversation that was going on in Luke 21. Don't be caught up in the drunkenness and the cares of this life, but watch and pray. Right? For they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that are drunken in the night. How much context do we need for being drunken? Stay sober, don't drink, don't be caught off guard. Don't be caught off guard with your drunkenness and be sleeping when that day comes. Like, how often is this showing up? It's all over the place in the context of what we know. Not to be caught off guard with the drunkenness and cares of this life. Well, why am I bringing this up, you might ask, right? Well, as I bring it to an end right now, you'll understand. Because I'm tying this into this season that we are looking at right here, which curtails right into the timing of Purim, which is directly being described. I say directly, which is you're going to see symbolically being described at the timing of what? When destruction's coming, when it's the time of travail, which is the start of the 40 days of the Son of Man, which is when he's coming to those of light, that he'll shine his light in the darkness, which is that remnant group who will be his light to go out during the time of seals when his 40 days are over, who weren't caught up in the things of drunkenness and being drunken in the night, but to be sober and watching. What is this connection? Why is it so prolific everywhere? Not to be caught off guard in drunkenness, but to be watching. Connected to this timing of the 40 days. The escape had happened, and now the coming of the Son of Man, the travail is beginning, which is the beginning of the 40 days of the Son of Man. For those of you who don't know, let me go to it very quickly. Isaiah 66. This is where the ministry began, right? This is the first thing that it began with 7.5 years ago. Isaiah 66:7. Before she travailed, she brought forth. This right here, brothers and sisters, this is the pre-trib bride of Christ, and its connection to Revelation chapter 12. Where is she travailing? Right here. Cried travailing in birth. So before she travailed, which means somewhere here, before the travailing, she brought forth. That is the pre-trib. And then it says, before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. So we know, like Paul, the picture in 1 Corinthians 15, when he says, and one born out of due time, that's this one right here. Before the pain, before the travail, notice the words, before travail. That's your pre-trib that we just showed. And then what does it say? Before her pain. What comes before pain? Travail. So before the pain, but now during the travail, is the Son of Man. Okay? This, now when she's travailing in birth, this right here, we've proven it scripturally, this right here is the 40 days picture of the Son of Man during the travailing. And then it says, comma, and. In addition to this, and pained to be delivered. This pained is the first 2.5 years of seals of the craziness of World War III. And then you've got mid-seals and the beast coming and so forth. Okay? So what are we seeing? All of this connection to the timing of the Son of Man coming after the pre-trib, a group that has escaped, with a group remaining who knows perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as the thief in the night, who will be his children of light, who will shine their light in the darkness for him as the little lambs, as the little rocks, as the little lights, to remain sober, not being drunken and caught off guard like the world will be. What is this connection? Why would this be connected to this? We could easily say, oh, well, it happens all the time. People are just always caught off guard. They'll always be caught off guard because they're not ready and they're just drinking and caught up in the things of this world. Yeah, that's true in a sense, but this is a specific time. This is a specific time connected to the coming of the Son of Man that starts his 40 days. When he comes to shine his light in the darkness. And there's a group of people being drunken who will be caught off guard. And this is what was shared by our brothers in the forum. Ready for this? Have a listen. their greatest day of drunkenness. Check this out right here. Purim, the drunkest Jewish party on earth. The Purim is represented by a justification for them as the getting smashed, bombed, so drunk you can't recognize the difference day of the year for the Jews. And that day, brothers and sisters, is connected to those being watchful at the return of the coming of the Son of Man while they are caught off guard in drunkenness. Because remember what happens when the Lord comes to begin his 40 days? Do you remember what he tells them? Do you remember where he's going? Of course, you should all remember where he's going, right? He starts right here. He tells us in Luke chapter 21. Right here. Luke 21 verse 20. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, this is the Lord when he returns as the Son of Man for 40 days as the white horse rider, telling Jerusalem to flee to the mountains, to get ready. They've missed it. They're not escaping. Now it's time, when they see that they're about to be compassed about, they're to flee to the mountains. We see this the same thing in Luke chapter 19. Remember this story right here, right? The triumphal entry is a prophetic picture of after the pre-trib, the coming of the Son of Man for 40 days, just like Luke 21. Mark's triumphal entry is a picture of the Lord coming at the end of the 6th year of seals on heavenly Mount Zion with paradise. And in Matthew's, it's a picture of him returning feet down on the Mount of Olives. We've broken all these down. There's teachings on it. And when we follow the storyline, look at what we see. The stones would immediately cry out. Well, who are these stones? It's the remnant workers. It's these stones that would cry out. We are the remnant group, the layers who remain, are those who would cry out, who are watching and praying, who are in his light, who will become his little lights. And what does he do now? He starts in Jerusalem. We don't know where he's going during the 40 days. We don't know everywhere he's going, if it's just in and around Jerusalem and Israel. But we know he begins in Jerusalem. And here's what it says. Luke 19:41, starting in 41. This is found only in Luke, and it's directly connected to his coming, prophetic picture of his coming for the 40 days after the wedding. And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, if thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. Okay? Yes, there was a picture of this back then, but the prophetic picture is even more clear because the Jews are going to be removed from the land. And the focus is going to be on the house of Israel and the Gentiles who are grafted in, because it's going to be the time of seals. At the end of seals is the end of the Gentile age. And then it says, for the days shall come upon thee that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee and compass thee round and keep thee in on every side, and they shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children with thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. This is the picture. This is the timing. And in all of this timing that we're reading, we're being told it's about being sober and not drunken, not caught off guard with this drunkenness in the night. And it turns out that our brothers went and did some digging and saw that Purim is the greatest day of the year of drunkenness, to the point of not being able to remember essentially up from down in Israel. Brothers and sisters, like I said, I'm hopeful. There are some wild connections in all of this. This line having gone out, when this line will come again to this incredible revelation of something straightforward that we just didn't see. That Aquarius is before Pisces. And the reason we're told it's the 11th is because the story of the world begins at here. Yet now it's here. 11/9 is Aquarius. And Aquarius on the Hebrew calendar is Adar. It is Adar, brothers and sisters. And that is why this message is hope is still alive. There's a people, brothers and sisters, being prepared, and many of us here are a part of it. Yet, regardless how long that time will be, though I do not believe it will be long, I truly do not believe it will be long, I am hopeful that this is the season and time, and we will continue to diligently seek and search Him until His time of His modern day Enochs begin. So, with that, brothers and sisters, I love you. I thank you. I appreciate you. I didn't mention this earlier, but I made a post in the forum yesterday or the day before for our brother in Uganda. He's having some major health issues right now. He's got to get blood and blood transfusion or get pints of blood. He's going through so many things right now. He has to travel from Kampala all the way to Nairobi to get medical attention. And this is our lead guy, our brother in Christ, who's reaching so many over there with his team in Uganda. And people have really, really stepped forward just with the share I did in the Ministry Revealed forum. So I appreciate if anybody else who's not a part of the forum and would like to support to help our brother get the needs met so that he can travel and have his lodging and have his family taken care of while he's gone and the ministry still running, you can mail us right here to Ministry Revealed, Alain Dubreuil actually, to our email address, or sorry, to our mail address right there, or you can come to PayPal right here. If you would like to join us in the forum, you can go to ministryrevealed.com. It's free to join us in the forum. There's never any fee for anything, and it'll take you about 10 seconds. Just go to forum from the menu, and when you click on it, it takes you, like I said, 10, 15 seconds to sign up. And there's about 1,300 people from all over the world, like-minded brothers and sisters, watching and praying, diligently seeking and searching, sharing their finds, all sorts of things going on in there. So if you'd like to join us, you can come join us there as well. So with that, brothers and sisters, I love you. God bless you. God bless your families. Always, we're praying for you every night. And I look forward to meeting you face to face in His presence, either prayerfully in the lowest room of the third heaven or girded about, ready to serve Him upon His return. I love you. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.